Kill, maim, and destroy, just as quickly as a bullet or bomb. It was radiation. Mark had been worried about the possibility of terrorists obtaining uranium or other radioactive substances and making their own atomic bombs. He had talked to experts in the field who said it was impossible, but he was still concerned about the danger. Then, several months ago, 3 top-ranking scientists in the field of atomic reactors for generating electricity quit their jobs at General Atomic in San Diego. The firm specialized in nuclear reactors for peaceful purposes. The scientists made a huge publicity splash, charging that all 56 atomic generating plants now in operation in this country were unsafe and had the potential for killing millions of people. Mark, posing as a newsman, talked to a nuclear physicist in Los Angeles and pumped him on the realistic dangers of terrorists using nuclear plant uranium. The scientist quickly set the record straight. He said there was virtually no chance that terrorists could use nuclear reactor fuel to build an atomic bomb. He patiently explained that the U-235 uranium is enriched to 8% for reactor use. For use in an atomic weapon, the uranium must be enriched to 90%, and it takes complicated and expensive equipment, skill, and facilities to do the enriching. He guaranteed Mark that for all practical purposes, there was absolutely no way that terrorists could use reactor fuel for an outlaw atomic bomb. The scientist did express another fear. He said there was a very real danger of these same terrorists getting radioactive material and using it as a threat against life and property in an extortion plot or political scheme of some kind. He pointed out that small quantities of radioactive material are used in many industries today, especially in the medical field. Usually, the transporting of such radioactive materials is poorly guarded. Mark thanked the scientist and filed it all away in his computer-like memory for total recall at any instant. Now it looked like there might be use for the information. He had been contacted by Joanna Tabler from the Justice Department. Some wild-eyed scientist had been bothering Justice for weeks, talking about a plot to stop all electrical generating by nuclear plants in the nation. Then, suddenly, the calls took on a dramatic and threatening tone, and Joanna got permission from her boss to let Mark investigate it. Unofficially, of course. She had forwarded a sheaf of details to the stronghold in California, and the professor and Mark had evaluated them. There was word that there would be a serious incident at the Rocky Mountain nuclear generating plant beyond the Denver suburbs and deep in the mountains. The time was tied down to a 3-day period, and this was the second day. Mark had flown to the area at once, and now he waited and watched. Chapter 1. Puttin' the Hammer Down. Mark Harden edged closer to the eyepiece of the long 20-power scope and focused on the gate of the Rocky Mountain nuclear generating plant far below. There was a watchman, a wide double-rolling steel gate electrically controlled, and a small guardhouse where a man sat listening to a radio and probably reading a girly magazine. Mark flicked a tiny red beetle off his shoulder and moved the scope carefully in its tunnel of shrubs. He had worked for an hour in the darkness getting the blind set up exactly right early yesterday morning. Now he was 300 yards from the gate on top of a ridge that sheltered a small canyon, which had been just wide enough to maneuver into with his 4-wheel drive pickup and camper. He was all set for 3 days if it lasted that long. The camper came equipped with stove, refrigerator, lights, a bunk, and he picked up enough food to last him a week. Mark stretched again, then lay down on the air mattress and scanned the nuclear generating station again. He had made the blind carefully so it couldn't be discovered from the front. Mark had dug small shrubs into the black soil and built up a shade area around the scope so it couldn't give the telltale flashes of sunlight. Then he improved his field of fire by trimming 1 small tree and a dozen bushes, and he was in business. The blind was thick enough so it couldn't be looked through, and almost 3 feet high so he could sit up to relieve the tension.